Hello, I'm Pearl Howie, and this is Pearl Escape's Guide to Healing. And most of it's going to be based on a book that's already been released that you can go and pick up, which has about 500 different types of healing. And I did the 7th edition of this book. Oof, I think it's getting on for about 7 years ago, actually. And the reason I did it is because I had all these experiences and all this traveling. I thought, I've got to get this all together. And I did it, and it was the 2019 guide. And then, of course, the world completely changed. So some of these things are going to still be the same because they've been the same for thousands of years. Some will have lasted, and some will have changed completely. So some of the spas and hotels and things might have changed completely. So you're just going to have to take potluck and do your own research as well. But hopefully this will lead you in the right direction for you. So what I've been doing for the last 7 years, a lot of other things. And as you can see, I'm out in the woods again. If you're watching this, if you're hearing it, maybe you can hear all the woods and the birds and everything. And I've had another sort of quite a long journey through COVID and with my own health and things like that. And I'm writing about that more in newer books, which are a little bit more kind of based on science and scientific research. But they still come back to just finding your own way and listening to the right people, because it doesn't matter whether you're dealing with, and I always say, we are mind, body and spirit. We are holistic all the time. But, if you have a problem, somebody who's very into, say, what you might call the spiritual side will be going, hey, here's the spiritual answer. So if you suffer from migraines like me, you'll get a lot of, hey, you need to de-stress and, manifest and da-da-da-da. If you speak to somebody who's a psychotherapist and you've got what you might think of as a mental health problem, they'll be like, hey, you need some talking therapy. Or you might need some antidepressants, they're going to tell you. But actually, if you look deeper, you see, actually, it's all connected. So what's going on in the body is going to obviously change the way we feel in our minds and in our brains. And it's going to change the way we feel, which we could call spiritual. So it's all kind of a wonderful, beautiful, mysterious muddle. And that's what makes it so great. And also what makes it so kind of infuriating when you're trying to figure things out. So, but it's like nature, there's so many different things going on. And I call myself, with Pearl Escapes, with that first company I started 15 years ago, I call myself the Explorer in Chief. And that's what it's really all about, because even when we think we know the answers, very often then we'll turn a corner and we'll find that everything's changed, or somebody gives us a new idea, a new suggestion, and we have to, it feels like we're starting all over again. But ultimately, we're not starting all over again, because we have these wonderful experiences, and we have, that's what I feel when I pick up this great big book, with all these types of healing. You think, okay, some of it, maybe it's no use to me right now, but at the time it really meant a lot to me, and those experiences are still in me. Even when I pick up the book and I read things and I think, wow, I've forgotten about this. It's all still like in the body, in my mind and in me, and it's changed who I am and who I am today. So it's a big, wonderful, mysterious, beautiful thing, this guide to healing. And I'm just reminded of something here. So if you're watching this, you can see there's a tree here behind me, and it's got all this beautiful lichen, I think you'd call it. And I always remember, like my mum would say, when she moved into this house and had a beautiful garden, lots of trees, and she saw all this stuff and she was really worried about it. And she went to a garden centre. She took a little sample. She went to the garden centre and asked somebody, what do I do? I think there's something wrong with the trees. They're all covered in this green stuff. And the woman said, you know what you have? And I said, well, what is it? She said, you have really healthy trees. So sometimes, even if we're good gardeners, there's stuff in the garden that we don't know. Even if we know a lot about health, there's things that we don't know. If we are dealing as a life coach or a psychotherapist, there's stuff that we don't know about. And sometimes it's actually just a sign that we're really healthy. And what we really need to do is just kind of reframe sometimes and think about it differently. So I'm kind of also on a time when I'm sort of rethinking. You can see haven't really been able to get away from all of the noise. There's always some noise, some beeping and stuff going on. So we're going to go a bit further. But suffering from migraine, that's really been the biggest thing for me in the last sort of 7 years. And it's kind of really taken over my life. And so a lot of what I'm doing is trying to get my life back. But at the same time, when I'm studying and understanding things, what I'm realizing is there are underlying reasons that I have migraine. And a lot of people have migraine. And so for me, what's kind of helping, and maybe it's just helping me to get through it, I don't know, is to rethink it and think of it more as the migraine is a symptom. It's not the problem. It's a symptom of other things that are going on, like in my body or in my mind, or my spirit. When I get really, really stressed, I have to shift that. And actually, it's funny when you talk to people like neurologists, consultants, they'll be the ones that saying, you need to reduce your stress levels because stress is a killer. You need to get out and do the things you enjoy because that's going to help you feel better. And you need to be positive and almost giving you more of like a psychotherapy or a spiritual answer. And it's really funny, but again, as I say, if we recognize that it's all connected, sometimes the answer is really simple, like, you just need to drink more water. Which is the cause for a lot of people who have migraine, is dehydration. And sometimes we need to look deeper and say, hey, guess what? There's a lot of stuff going on in my gut microbiome that I wasn't really aware was a problem. And the migraine is really screaming because there's something deeper going on. And actually, in that respect, we can sometimes then say that this thing we think of is really terrible and awful. A bit like that beeping. I don't know if you could hear that back there. There was this beeping from where they're doing some building work. And it's really annoying to me, but for them it's really, really important that they have that beeping so that they don't have an accident and an injury. So it's like that smoke alarm going off or that carbon monoxide alarm going off. It could save our lives. So I think sometimes, when we're looking at healing, it's not just about getting rid of a symptom. Sometimes, especially, we look at the symptom, we say, hey, I want to get rid of the headache. I want to get rid of this rash. I want to get rid of something else that's going on. And we look to try and just maybe take a pill. But really, sometimes what we need to do is look deeper and say, hang on, what's going on that is making this happen in the first place? So, a lot of times I speak to people on many journeys, on retreats and things like that. And it's kind of like, a lot of time it's like, hey, in the end, what happens is we leave a situation, we leave a relationship, we leave a job because of an illness. And then we realize that actually the problem was the job. The problem was the situation. The problem was the house we were living in. And it's those big changes that we make sometimes that are the healing. But that's the big picture. Big picture. Let me show you this big picture here where I am. If you're listening, I'm going to be on YouTube, so go find it on there and see these beautiful trees and this beautiful seaside, this ocean. And what I always say at the moment is, no matter how bad things get, I'm very lucky in a sense of where I've ended up. And this, see, still got some beeping there, but this space itself, just being in this space is very, very healing. Being in nature is incredibly healing. And that's something we're learning more and more and more about all the time. Just how important it is. And actually, I had a migraine coming on when I left the house. And it's nice because it's kind of, it's gone down. So I think a lot of it's, you see these beautiful colours, these beautiful trees, the fresh air, the birds. I've already seen, I think, a marsh harrier this morning, which is really a wonderful treat. Oh, look, it's a bunny. Oh yeah, a couple of bunnies. I don't know, they're on the path. They're so funny. They're like running after each other. I don't know if you can see this. Probably can't. I can just about make them out. But there's some bunnies down there. Yeah, a couple of bunnies running around. And it's those little things, that little joy sometimes that makes us, whatever it is, it's incredibly healing and it's wonderful. Anyway, it's getting a bit windy, so I'm going to say goodbye. And just one thing I wanted to add. I think very often when we do podcasts or videos or any kind of work, you get pushed to say, who's it for? And I always say it's for everyone. And everyone goes, oh, look, But one thing I would say, that I think who this podcast is for, and it's something I find when I work with people and I talk to people, and I you say, actually, it's a group of people and we don't really have a name. But we have a lot of names, and it's carer, healer, shaman, or mum, or dad, or uncle, or auntie, or nurse, or doctor, and we are the people who love the world, and we love people, and we're doing so much for other people. And we are the people, Zumba instructors, fitness instructors, we are the people that we kind of let our own well run dry a lot. You hear me? We get burnt out a lot because we have a tendency to put other people's needs before our own. And so I think the last 5 years for me, sorry about this wind, not my wind, it's the wind of the ocean, it's being out in nature. But the last 5 years, I would say, have for me been a masterclass in self-compassion, in learning that I have to focus on my own needs. I have to be kind to myself. And it's my birthday this week, and I kind of think, when you're really nice to yourself on your birthday, and you kind of, you do these nice little things, and you not just a cake, but there is cake involved. And you do these lovely things for yourself because it's my birthday, It may take a little bit longer in the shower, you use a nice body wash, you have the extra cup of tea, you give yourself 5 more minutes. I'm not going to rush. I'll do my nails. I'll put some nice hand cream on because my hands are dry. And you think, why aren't I doing this all the time? And Don Miguel Ruiz always says, he says, you are the love of your own life. You are the love of your own life. And sorry about the wind here, it's getting a bit breezy. But it's saying come back. The tree is saying come back into the woods. But the thing is that we are the love of our own life, and we love working. We love serving other people. It's our vocation. It's part of who we are. And we don't want to let go of that, because it's like doing this video or writing a book. I get so much joy from it, so much joy. And it's doing the thing, but it's also doing it for other people. And we love it so much. But we also, sometimes we get sort of pushed around, like in the sea, like a little boat on the sea, and we get pushed around. And we have to remember that, our life, our health, our joy is really, really important too. So if I have any group of people that I'm serving, it's those people, you perhaps, who know that you have a tendency to let your well dry up and not be healing yourself. And I tell you what, healers are the worst. Like they say, doctors make the worst patients. Zumba instructors, we teach too much. We give too much to our students. We feel like we're on call all the time. And I think that's something that's just even so much worse with things like, mobile phones and email, and feeling like you're on all the time. And I don't know about you, but even sometimes when I go into like the gym and I'm just chilling out, and somebody will come up and start talking to me, and I feel like I have to give them some fitness advice, or I have to give them some other advice. And it kind of say, what is I think just remembering there's a time when you can just turn the sign and say closed, and say today, or for 5 minutes or half an hour or an hour, the sign is turned around, and it's like, what? If I'm doing this, it's because I feel like my well is full enough to give and to do something different and to do something new, not because I feel like I have to. If I'm doing social media, it's something that comes out of me. There's enough. There is enough for me to share, rather than feeling like I have to be running dry all the time. I love this thing. I've just got some blackberries here, and I like tending on the blackberries because, nature is so good, and it gives us so much. It gives us everything, but also it gives from this beautiful place of I don't know, just, what's the word I'm thinking of? plenty. What's that word? Everyone's going to be shouting at me. I know you're going to be shouting at me and I can't think of the word. The place of, what's that word? When we have lots of stuff. And you're gonna that everyone in the spiritual world is always talking about, and it's that word. What is the word, guys? Put the word into YouTube or on the podcast, because I'm having one of those mind blank things. I'm kind of coming out dry on that word. Yeah, put it in, and that's my game for the day. Put it in the word. Put the word in into YouTube, into the comments if you can, and. Isn't it crazy? I'm doing a podcast that's kind of about that and I've forgotten where the word is. Have a great day. Look, I just think I'm going to be silly and fun in this podcast, a YouTube podcast, and you just come with me for the journey. And better still, put the laptop down, put the phone down, go out and go for a nice long walk. Okay, take care. Bye.